Welcome to the Do Whatever It Takes podcast. Conversations that help athletes maximize their potential on and off the field. From coaches, trainers, former teammates, athletic influencers, and business owners, we'll discuss their journey. I am your host, Savon Huggins. Let's do it.
Before we get started, we would like to thank our sponsor, Cruise Control Music, the ultimate sonic branding experience. Cruise Control Music creates custom authentic sounds and music to showcase your brand identity and is a direct reflection of your vision, goals, and values. If you're looking to start or level up on your podcast experience, log on to cruisecontrolmusic.com.
Today's episode is with Miami Dolphins OTAs, which stands for Organized Training Activities Internship. First and foremost, we want to thank Brian Flores, the head coach, and Lance Bennett, the head coach's assistant, for the opportunity to come down there and work with the running backs for a few weeks. We want to share this experience with you all just to understand exactly what goes on into an NFL ball club, and more importantly, the relationships that it took for us to even get there. And this goes back to the NFL Combine back in February, which helped propel us for this opportunity in May. And we learned so much while we were down there, and we got a very raw and in-depth perspective of why the NFL, why coaches do what they do, how they do it, what they see in their players, what the players don't see that the coaches recognize. I think is more important, especially people who are athletic or getting paid a lot of money. A lot of times athletes feel that they can get away with things because they're getting paid more. And sometimes, yes, in your mind, that may be the case, but in their mind, they have a different agenda. And this is not to expose anybody or anything like that nature, but more to educate student athletes and what it takes to be at the elite level and what you need to do to stay there. And that was the main objective for us, to go down there and also to build relationships and learn more about schemes and things of that nature. But to be honest with you, schemes, you might pick up one or two things, but it's more so about the preparation and what goes into each and every practice, every rep, every meeting. Everything is on time. And it was just so, and I was so intrigued and in awe. But more importantly, it was like literally time to work. We didn't have time to be a fan. It was more so executing, because we are a coach and the professional athletes are looking for our advice and their opinion on how they are practicing and on film to help them prepare for the next practice. So we jumped right into it, and we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you can take some of these things and use these things as tactics or to help propel you when you get to that next level, what to expect. Hey, how you doing, everyone? This is Savon Huggins, your host of the Do Whatever It Takes podcast, and welcome back to another episode. We want to thank each and every one of our listeners. Make sure you guys tune in and subscribing to our YouTube channel, DOWIT, DOWIT. You can follow us on all social media platforms, from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, at TEAMDOIT. You can also grab some apparel on our website at www.teamdowit.com. Today's segment, we will be talking about the Miami Dolphins internship opportunity we had and we were so fortunate enough to have. And it was a great opportunity for us to be able to learn from the best in the business. Thank you to Lance Bennett, head coach assistant, and Brian Flores, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, who was the defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots last year, who won a Super Bowl. Coach Chad O'Shea, who won 3 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots and has been the receiver coach for the Patriots over the past 5 to 6 years. And the whole entire staff and ball club for inviting us down to OTAs. And OTA stands for Organized Training Activities for week 2. And man, I can't tell you how phenomenal of an experience it was to be down there in Miami and more importantly, learn. The first and foremost thing I want to address about the whole entire experience is about relationships and building relationships. That opportunity that we've had came back not just then, but back at the NFL Combine and networking and making sure that we put ourselves out there. And, we were fortunate enough to connect with Gary Vee and their media team and a lot of different scouts and NFL teams out there from the New England Patriots, Miami Dolphins, New Orleans Saints, Los Angeles Chargers, Los Angeles Rams, as well, San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, a couple college, coaches, UCF, and so on and so forth. And we talked about the NFL Combine experience, from previous podcasts, how important it is to make sure that you put yourself in a position to learn from other people and to, network and put yourself out there. And those opportunities from the NFL Combine helped us, gain some attention for some scouts and from the powers of above that allowed us to be able to get invited to the NFL OTAs for the Miami Dolphins. And it was a great experience. I was one of another high school coach that was down there. Every other coach was either have NFL experience or college coach coaching right now. So we were very fortunate enough to be in a position with a whole bunch of college minds in the room. And we aren't too far off from what our mission is and what we do and our training templates and how we envision as far as what the NFL expectations are. And the first thing I want to talk about as far as the whole experience as a whole is to talk about exactly what it takes to be a professional. And it's one thing to speculate, to ask questions from different players and their perspectives and guys who've made millions and millions of dollars, or who's the go-to guy, such as Odell Beckham or Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, asking questions and learning from people like that, or people in our backyard that went to Rutgers that we've experienced or we've personally trained in Muhammad Sanu, Devin McCourtney, and so on and so forth. But then it's another angle as far as being a pro, seeing it from a coach's perspective, seeing it from a general manager's perspective, and exactly what they're looking for in order for you to be above and achieve above and beyond and to be on the top of their board. And to sit down in every single meeting, every single staff meeting, every single position meeting, unit meeting, and these coaches explaining and talking about the core principles of what it takes to be a professional and the expectation that they expect out of you is so important. And I think young athletes need to understand and recognize the people who want to get to the level that we were a part of and that we worked with, is everything is under scrutiny and nothing goes unnoticed. And I say that to say a lot of times, especially when you have talent, your talent supersedes or overrides sometimes, maybe not necessarily your work ethic, but you may think you can get away with things, or you can't get away with things because you have talent. You can get away with things because you had 2 or 3 years at your high school or your college where you've had a lot of success, and you may be going cruise control, or you can afford to mess up, or you can afford to get injured, or you can afford to things to happen because you develop and establish yourself as the guy for your particular team. And in the NFL, that's not the case. And what I want young athletes to understand and recognize is how valuable and how precious and important it is to make sure that you capitalize and maximize every single opportunity when you have one. And we talked about that before, about maximizing your opportunities on and off the field. But in particularly in the building and in the ball club, you need to make sure you're doing everything right, because people are always watching your every move. I have a list of about 10 to 15 pages, and I won't go in depth as far as to who the players are talking about, but about exactly specific things that coaches notice. I'll read some off to you. This guy, he's hurt, and he has a tendency to think he thinks he knows it all because he's hurt and he's been in this system for a while now. And the guys he's been helping out has really, really taken a part of, and learned from him. But he's starting to recognize that the people that were learning from him because he's been in the experienced offense for a year is now starting to pass him because he's hurt. And now the guy who thinks he knows it all is really starting to get his ego crushed because the people are starting to pass him and not have to ask him so many questions. Another evaluation. This guy has good feet, but he's probably more likely a practice player because he struggles with movement. He struggles with plays, and sometimes he has a physicality problem, but he's good enough to be on a practice squad player. This person, excuse me, I'm trying to figure out what I can read. So this particular person has pretty good feet. He moves well. He has some tight hips. He's good in the classroom. He should probably ask questions more in the classroom, but he sits in the middle of the pack. He's not in front of the guy, classroom guy. He sits in the middle. He doesn't really ask questions. He only asks his question when someone else asks a question. Wish he would ask questions more. This particular guy. He's good, but I'm not sure how well he's going to perform when the pads get on. He may struggle as far as what, special teams, and that's the way he's going to make it. A little bit undersized. So we're not really sure how well he can do in punt pro and in punt block. But we'll probably more than likely put him and use him as a gunner. But we have to see when pads come on because more than likely he'll make the roster based on the things he can do on special teams more so than in position. This guy's on the cusp. Really like him, but lately he's been slacking. He hasn't been showing up, as far as, his productivity. He always makes an excuse from when he does things wrong. He always is challenging authority and the people in the room that are trying to hold him accountable. Sometimes he's in the training room a little bit too much. I'll give you one last one. Let me look down this list. This guy has a really, really high ceiling, but sometimes he needs to get pushed. Unfortunately, the other people in the position group are hurt. So right now he doesn't feel challenged. So he's kind of taking a seat back and would like for him to get more pushed. And we think that the other guy can really challenge him and really actually probably take over his spot if he continues to go in cruise control. But we'll see when the other guy comes back and when he's healthy. Now, these are evals of different players. And again, this information is disclosed to the public, so obviously I will never ever share any of the information into the position that I'm talking about. But that right there are evals of particular players. And when guys think that you're not watching or coaches are not watching, coaches are watching your every single move. I'm talking about how your body language and how you sit in a chair in a classroom when we're watching film. That type of detail, right? So although you might be one of the better players on the team, in high school and college, you can get away with that. In the NFL, they're always trying to find somebody to replace you. Let me repeat that again. In the NFL, even if you're making all the money, they were always trying to find someone to replace you. And some people can't perform in those conditions because they need to feel comfortable. They need to feel loved. And I got news for you. In that profession, there is no love. It's really, really plain and simple. Either you can produce for me or you can't. And the ones that understand and grasp that concept do fine. And the ones who don't and take it emotionally, it's struggle. It's a really, really hard struggle for them. Hence the reason why certain college programs are predicated like the Alabamas and the Clemsons of the world, where they are structured, or in Ohio State, they are structured just like the NFL, and some other programs aren't, where at least the guys who may be your second or third string tier guy on one of those, Power 5, big Power 5 programs still get opportunities where that guy who may have had better statistics, say if the running back for Tulane ran for 2,000 yards and the running back for Ohio State, who's the second string, ran for 800 yards, may probably have a better ceiling than the guy from Tulane because of the team he came from. Not necessarily because, maybe he's a better or worse player, but because that kid understands what it takes to be a pro, because those are how some of those programs are ran. Now, there's no knock on some of these other programs. That's why it's, important to go to a school. We talk about going to a school for an education, right? Because there's a lot of things that I just mentioned that were good and bad that's out of your control that you probably will never ever know. And they will never ever tell you because that's not their place. I mean, these are some evals that I mentioned about first round draft picks that have been first round draft picks from years in the past. And everything is under scrutiny. So when I talk about attention to detail and how we prepare and practice, how we prepare and the way we take care of our bodies, the way we sleep, the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom, in high school and college, all those things are the core values and principles that you start to learn at a young age. So when you get to the next level, now you are well equipped and have all the tools to be able to make sure that you perform at a high level and conduct yourself in a way where guys in a building love you. And from a attention to detail and being a pro standpoint, those are the things and assets and values that separate you from the next, right? And that right there is why guys like KD and guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick and guys like Minka Fitzpatrick and guys like Kenny Stills stay for a long time, because they grasp that concept where others really struggle with that. Going on to another segment about the Miami Dolphins, and we were fortunate about is to sitting meeting rooms and just from an operations standpoint, how everything is just ran. I mean, similarly ran into as far as coincides with the NFL Combine, but now we got a really good chance to see an actual ball club and everything that they do. And I can't stress enough to you how important it is to be on time and how important it is to actually show up before time, right? So if we have a meeting at 7 o'clock, your butt better be in that meeting at 6:50, because we may start at 6:52. Now, yes, that's annoying, but from a football standpoint, all you have to do is football. In high school and college, you have, you have academics, you got academic advisors, you got, social life. Like, there's so many other things, in high school and college, and parents are involved. They got to get you to and from practice and yada, yada, yada. That, that happens from the high school and college level. But at the professional level, you are getting paid to be a pro. So they expect certain expectations of you as far as how to be a pro, right? So you shouldn't be in the building 10 minutes before, or you shouldn't be in, a meeting scrolling in 5 minutes, before the meeting starts. You need to be attentive. You need to be there 15 minutes on time, before time. If I don't know if everybody knows who Vince Lombardi is, the Super Bowl trophy is named after him, the person who won the first Super Bowl, Vince Lombardi. And they call it Lombardi time. Lombardi time is 15 minutes before the actual time. If you're not 15 minutes before the actual time, you're late. So if a meeting starts at 7:15, if you aren't there at 7 o'clock, you're late. And that type of thing, is implemented, in the Miami Dolphins meetings and around the organization and ball club. And I mean, for me, I got that message really quick after the first meeting. Not like I wasn't there already, but, I was fortunate that I had core values instilled in me where I was going to always be at least 15 to 20 minutes there before the actual time, where I didn't have that issue, but I learned that as I was sitting there, how things were moving. Like, wait, I thought the meeting started at 7. It's 6:50, and we're starting this meeting. But again, the attention to detail and being a professional is so important, right? And the only way that you learn these things is from learning from people from past experience, asking questions, and, the podcast that we are providing for, you high school and collegiate athletes and in the youth are helping you to get to that next level and learn how to be a pro now, right? Why wait when you can learn now with the tools and, assets and the thing that you can take with you and implement in your program, on your team in order for you to be the best that you can be. Because at the NFL, everybody is the best from their college. They were all Americans on their college team. And now you're bringing a whole bunch of different egos and different talents together. And now we're about to see who the cream, the cream rises all the way to the top. So we're about to see now, who are the people who instilled those core values or really took those things to heart while they were in college or in high school or at the youth level. Hence the reason why when you are getting drafted, they ask your high school coach, your youth coaches, your teachers, your college coaches, your college professors. They ask everything about you because they want to know every single detail about you in order for you to be the best person that they are for the ball club and why they're investing in you long term. So from being a pro from that aspect, it's so important. Another thing I wanted to talk about too is just the expectation about being a pro and taking care of your body. And we'll go on into this in another segment, and we'll be interviewing guys about this. Is really up to you. Especially, at the college level, it's certain programs, it's mandatory to go to treatment and do those things or you get penalized. But at the high school level and majority of colleges, it isn't mandatory for you to go to get treatment, take care of your body, get proper sleep and hydrate. But those things are talked about in a high school and in a college, meeting setting, locker room, you see it around the building. Whereas in the NFL, that is already assumed that you are doing that, right? Like the running back coach, the receiver coach, or the DB coach isn't asking you if you hydrated today, right? They haven't asked you how many gallons of water are you drinking. Did you get the proper rest? It is already assumed that you already are doing those things. And that's one thing I want you young athletes who hate cold tubs, who hate taking care of their body, who love, partying or drinking alcohol or doing what so have you, or staying up late playing video games, that when you get to the professional level, the expectation is for you to come to the building attentive and ready to go at all times. They shouldn't have to ask you to take care of your body. You should be taking care of your body on your own merit. But if you aren't learning those things and understand that at a young age, you will struggle when you get to the next level because they aren't telling you what to do. That's expected of what you to do. They expect you to produce. So if you're hobbling around, you got an ankle injury, something is bothering you, that is your responsibility to go to the train and take care of your body. That is your responsibility to make sure that you're recovering. That is your responsibility to make sure you're in an ice tub, you're stretching, you're investing in yoga outside of the building. Because, all these things outside of the training room, they don't have for everybody. Yes, they may bring a massage therapist. They may come in a couple times a week or what so have you. But as far as taking care of your body at the top level, they are investing in you. So you need to invest in yourself to make sure you get the end product that they're expecting out of you, if that makes sense. So if they're giving you $500,000, they aren't going to baby you and tell you need to take care of your body. That's already assumed. That $500,000, you better take some of that money and go take care of your body. Put the proper nutrition in your body. Take care of your food. Take care of your hydration. Make sure you get a good mattress to make sure you sleep on, right? All those things are pre-assumed that are part of being a pro that they don't have to ask or tell you to do because that's part of the requirements. And I think for majority of athletes at the high school and a lot of them in college don't really understand that because they are expecting a coach to tell them what to do. Where in the NFL, nobody is telling you what to do. The only thing they're telling you what to do is to make that guy in front of you miss or beat the guy in front of you. How you beat that guy in front of you is the fundamentals that you worked on in the offseason. They want to go over some fundamentals during practice before the actual team periods. But that is the expectation of you. You should be already prepared before you actually come to practice. Like, you aren't getting better in practice. You've been getting better in the offseason. Practice is just fine-tuning for teams, if that makes sense. And from a youth, a high school, and a collegiate perspective, I want all you athletes to understand it is your responsibility to take care of your business and invest in yourself to make sure that you are prepared for the storm to come and prepare for any adversity or anything that happens on those playing fields, whether it be the diamond, basketball court, tennis court, football field, so on and so forth. It is your responsibility to hone in on your craft to make sure that you are the best that you can be to perform for your team. Because when you are on a team setting, you don't have enough time realistically, no matter what, to attend to individual attention. So if you aren't taking care of those things in the offseason, it will show in the season. And when people are taking it seriously, you will see the difference when they come together. And at that point, it shows the coaches in their eyes, how much are you really invested in your body and invested in your byproduct to make sure that you are the best that you can be for that $500,000 that they invested in you. That's what it takes to be a pro. That's what doing whatever it takes means. And, being in that setting, in that environment, and seeing what these coaches and expectations of each and every one of these players are expecting is why certain people stay for a long time and why others have a short career, or why others get distracted by other things because they forget the reason what got them there. And when they get that $500,000, they use that $500,000 for other things except aside from the byproduct or what you're there for is to perform and do your job to make more money, to perform for the ball club. That way you can live a financial freedom life 10 years down the line. But again, being a pro, ladies and gentlemen, is far more and far beyond just coming and showing up and doing the bare minimum. The bare minimum is part of the expectations of being a professional. And those core values that you learn at the youth, high school, and collegiate level will help you or hurt you, right? So if you don't know, my best advice to you is to ask, seek for help, research. There's so many different avenues, including this podcast, that you can share and ask questions to get feedback and input on what you think that you can do to help yourself. But you can only do that if you put yourself out there. We want to thank each and every one of you guys, ladies and gentlemen, again today for tuning into our Do Whatever It Takes podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, we would love for you to share it, like it, tweet it, put it on Instagram, LinkedIn. This podcast, we want it to be very informational, informative for all athletes of all ages to help them be successful in everything that they do and prepare for themselves to be, and achieve their personal and team goals, right? So we are a community, and we're building a community of people that do whatever it takes to be successful. Thank you for each and every one of our listeners today for tuning in. Do it. Thank you for listening to the Do Whatever It Takes podcast. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Team Do It, and log on to teamdowit.com to book your next training session or speaking engagement. Always remember to live in your purpose. Do it.